At my cousin's funeral, I was told to stand at the back so immediate family could sit up front. I had been his caretaker for 2 years while everyone else ignored his calls. As I watched them weep loudly for the cameras, I held on to the last letter he ever wrote addressed only to me. Months later, when they tried to sell his belongings for profit, they found out he left everything to me. I'm Carla. I'm 43, and I live in Rochester, Minnesota. I work at a small clinic doing billing and front desk stuff. I don't usually talk much about personal things online, but this has been eating at me. 9 months ago, my cousin Blake died from cancer. He was only 46. What happened before and after he died changed everything I thought I knew about family. Blake and I were close growing up. We lived next door to each other in a quiet neighborhood outside Duluth. He was 2 years older, but he never treated me like the annoying younger cousin. He was like a brother. When my parents were fighting, he'd sneak me into his room and let me hang out there. When my dad got drunk and forgot to pick me up from school, Blake showed up. No questions asked. He moved to Minneapolis for a while in his 30s. Tried to make it as a musician, but that life burned him out. He ended up back in Rochester around 42, just before he got sick. No wife, no kids. His relationship with the rest of the family had always been rocky. His parents were cold, his siblings were worse. Blake was the black sheep. Too artsy. Too sensitive. Too different. When he got the diagnosis stage 4 pancreatic cancer, he called me first. I remember the way he said it. Quiet, like he was trying not to upset me. I told him to move in with me. My house was small, but it had a downstairs room. I set it up for him the next day. For 2 years, I took care of him. Every appointment. Every treatment. Every 2 a.m. emergency. Every vomit-stained sheet. Every moment of fear. I watched him shrink down to skin and bones. I watched him cry, rage, go quiet. I didn't leave. Not once. But our family? Not a single visit. Not one card. No calls unless Blake called them first. Sometimes they didn't even answer. They gave excuses: work, travel, emotional boundaries. His sister, Aubrey, told him she was too sensitive to see him like that. His oldest brother, Mark, said he didn't want to remember Blake as a weak man. Blake tried to act like it didn't hurt. But I saw the pain in his eyes every time his phone rang, and it wasn't them. One night, near the end, he said to me, "You're the only one who stayed." That's not nothing. The night before he died, he gave me a letter. Handwritten. Just a few lines. He said, "Read this after I'm gone. You'll know when." I didn't open it that night. The funeral was held at St. Agnes. Small church, nothing fancy, just what Blake wanted. I was in charge of everything: cremation, flowers, service, music. I picked his favorite acoustic songs and kept it quiet. No speeches, no slideshow, just a memorial. The morning of the funeral, I wore black jeans and a simple sweater. I didn't care how I looked. I'd been crying for days. But when I got to the church, I saw them. The entire damn family. All dressed up like they were headed to a gala. Aubrey wore some tight designer dress like she was trying to get photographed. Mark was shaking hands like a damn politician. People they hadn't spoken to in years were hugging them like they were grieving saints. Then Aubrey walked over to me. She gave me that fake soft voice and said, "Carla, would you mind sitting in the back? We're asking immediate family to sit up front." I stared at her. I wanted to say something. I wanted to scream. But I just nodded. I walked to the back and sat down. I held the letter Blake gave me in my coat pocket. My fingers wouldn't stop shaking. They cried loud. They sobbed for the cameras. Literally. One of Blake's cousins, who works in media, brought a guy with a camera. To document the service, they said. They staged photos. They took selfies. Aubrey gave some dramatic speech about memories and forgiveness even though she hadn't spoken to him in over a year. I left early. I couldn't watch anymore. I went home and sat on my porch and opened the letter. It said, "Carla, if you're reading this at my funeral, something went wrong. I told them I didn't want speeches or fake crying. I told them I didn't want a show. But if it happened anyway, don't fight them. Let them do their thing. Let them grieve the version of me they kept in their heads. You're the only one who knew the real me in the end. That's why everything's been taken care of. You'll find out soon. Trust me. Love you." Blake. I didn't understand what he meant. Not right away. But 2 months later, I got the call. A lawyer. Blake's estate attorney. Apparently, the rest of the family had gathered at his house to go through his stuff. They were already trying to sell his guitars. One of them listed his coin collection online. The lawyer told me they were stunned when he showed up with the will. Blake had left everything to me. The house. The savings. The car. The music equipment. The rights to his songs. Even the furniture. Every item was listed, down to his favorite leather jacket. All mine. Aubrey called me that night. "This has to be a mistake," she said. "No," I replied. "It's not." "You're not even blood," she snapped. I paused. "I was the one who changed his sheets when he was puking blood, Aubrey. Where were you?" She hung up on me. But that was just the start. A few weeks after that phone call, I started getting letters. Anonymous, of course. Cut out magazine words, childish threats like "you'll pay" and "greedy whore." The police weren't much help. Said unless they had proof or a name, there wasn't much they could do. But I knew exactly who was behind it. Aubrey had always been good at playing sweet in public and vicious in private. Even as kids, she used to smile while blaming others for the things she did. Blake used to call her a snake in silk. Then someone broke into my garage. They didn't take anything valuable. Just rummaged around, trashed some boxes, and took a few of Blake's old band posters. The cops chalked it up to random vandalism, but I knew better. They weren't after money. They wanted to send a message. So I sent one back. I posted a video online. Just me, sitting with Blake's old acoustic guitar, telling stories about him. Real stories. About how he used to play lullabies for the neighbor's baby during storms. How he stayed up all night once helping me study for a test I was sure I'd fail. I didn't name names. I didn't accuse anyone. I just showed the truth. The video got shared. A lot. People remembered Blake. They messaged me. Old neighbors, teachers, coworkers. They started commenting on the family's posts, asking questions. Why didn't you visit Blake when he was sick? Didn't he live with Carla at the end? Why are you selling his things now? The family turned on each other fast. I didn't even have to do anything. Mark accused Aubrey of ruining their image. Aubrey blamed their parents. The younger cousins tried to stay out of it, but I saw their names disappear from my blocked list one by one. Then came the second will. Or so they claimed. Out of nowhere, I got a letter from another lawyer. The family had discovered an older version of Blake's will. One that split everything equally between all of them. They filed to have it recognized, claiming my version was coerced. I showed it to my lawyer. He laughed. Let them try, he said. In court, it was a joke. Their so-called will had no signature. No witness. It was typed. Not even dated properly. The judge didn't even let them finish. But that wasn't the end. I found out Aubrey had been contacting Blake's old friends behind my back. Telling them I manipulated him. Saying I made him change the will while he was on pain meds. One of those friends, a guy named Randy, called me. He'd known Blake since high school. She says you locked him in the house, he said. That you isolated him. I almost dropped the phone. I invited Randy over. I showed him pictures. Medical bills. Texts. The video of Blake playing guitar just weeks before he passed. Randy sat quiet the whole time. Then he said, "They're scared. That's why they're lashing out." He wasn't wrong. But I wasn't scared. I'd been through hell taking care of Blake. I had nothing left to lose. So I leaned into it. I started fixing up the house. I turned his old room into a music studio. Invited local kids over on weekends to learn guitar. I started a community fund in Blake's name. Slowly, his memory became ours, not theirs. And the family? They faded. For a while. Then something happened that I didn't expect. Mark showed up at my clinic. No appointment. Just walked in during my lunch break. He looked rough, unshaven, tired, desperate. "I need to talk," he said. I stared at him for a long time. Then I walked him outside. "You've got 5 minutes," I said. He didn't waste time. "They're broke," he said. "Mom and Dad blew their savings trying to fight the will. Aubrey got fired. Nobody's talking to each other anymore." I said nothing. "I just want to know, why did he cut us out completely?" I looked at him dead in the eyes. "Because you cut him out first." He nodded like he already knew. "We thought we had more time." Then he pulled something from his pocket. A cassette tape. Labeled in Blake's handwriting. He left this in one of his guitars. "You should have it." I took it, but I didn't say thank you. I just watched him walk away. That night, I played it. And what I heard changed everything. The tape started with static, then Blake's voice. Weak but clear. He must have recorded it in the last few weeks before he passed. "If you're hearing this, Carla, it means I didn't make it as long as I hoped. And if Mark gave this to you, well, maybe that means he grew up a little." I sat on the floor, my back against the couch. My hands were shaking. "There are some things I never told you. Things I didn't want to say out loud while I was alive. But you deserve to know everything." He talked about the family. Not just the abandonment. He told me about the money. How, after his first surgery, Aubrey and Mark visited only once and tried to get him to sign power of attorney papers. Said it was just in case something happened. Said they could manage his affairs better if things went bad. Blake refused. But he never told me about it. Then he told me about his music. "There's a box in the attic. Green metal. Locked. The key is taped to the back of my old Dylan poster. You'll know which one. Don't trust anyone else with what's inside." I paused the tape. Ran to the attic. Dug through boxes until I found the poster. Peeled it off the wall. The key was there. Rusty, small. The green box was under a pile of old amps and blankets. When I opened it, I nearly dropped it. Inside were dozens of tapes, folders, and a flash drive. Songs. Journals. Notes. And contracts. Real contracts dated and signed with an indie label out of Chicago from years ago. Apparently Blake's old band had made a deal, and Blake had retained full rights when they split. One of the songs had gone semi-viral on some underground circuit a couple years back. I remembered Blake mentioning it offhand once. I hadn't realized what it meant. He still got royalties. And the royalties were increasing. There was a letter on top of everything. "If this music ever becomes something again, I want it to help people who actually give a damn. Do whatever you want with it, Carla. Just don't let them touch it." I sat there for hours going through it all. He had kept everything. Every rejection letter. Every fan message. Every beat-up demo he ever recorded in a garage. Blake had been more than they ever gave him credit for. so I got to work. I reached out to the label. They confirmed the royalty rights. When I told them Blake had passed, they offered to collaborate on a tribute album. I pulled together the best tracks, had them remastered, and dropped the first one on streaming platforms with a single message, for the ones who showed up. Blake. It blew up. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know who Blake was. The video I had made months earlier started circulating again. Articles popped up. Local media covered the story of the forgotten musician whose music found new life after his death. And that's when Aubrey crawled back. She sent me a message. Long, dramatic, and full of fake sweetness. I know we got off on the wrong foot. I've been thinking a lot about Blake lately. I'd love to help preserve his legacy. Maybe work together on something? We could even start a foundation. I didn't reply. She kept pushing. Then she showed up at the next memorial event for the scholarship fund. Stood in the back, sunglasses on, crying again. Afterward, she approached me. "I'm sorry," she said, softly. "For everything." I looked her in the eyes. "You're sorry because you thought you were getting rich." She blinked fast, lips tight. "You can grieve Blake however you want," I said. "But his legacy? It's not yours." She left without saying another word. A few days later, I found out someone had tried to trademark Blake's stage name. Guess who? Mark, under a shell company. But I was ready. The paperwork was already filed in Blake's name. I had evidence, contracts, witnesses. Their attempt failed in days. Still, something didn't sit right. I kept wondering why give me the tape? Why admit to the betrayal? Then I got a call from Blake's old friend Randy again. This time, he sounded nervous. "You need to watch your back," he said. "Mark's broke and desperate." He asked me if I knew how to hack into bank accounts. He's slipping. I didn't sleep that night. The family was unraveling. But desperate people make stupid choices. And I had the feeling they weren't done with me yet. 2 weeks after Randy warned me, someone tried to break into my house. They came in through the basement window. I had a camera down there because Blake used to store equipment in the back room. I saw everything. It was Mark. He had gloves, a flashlight, and a crowbar. I don't know what he was looking for, maybe the flash drive, maybe more music, maybe my bank info. But he wasn't careful. He knocked over a mic stand, and the alarm tripped. He ran, but I had everything on video. I called the cops. They arrested him 2 days later outside a gas station in his truck. He had the same gloves, the crowbar, and copies of Blake's music files in his glove box. He tried to say he was just checking on old things and didn't know it was a crime. The detective didn't buy it. Neither did the judge. It didn't go to trial. He pled guilty to attempted burglary and tampering with private property. Got probation and community service, but the mugshot made the rounds. His job let him go. Aubrey didn't show her face again. But I heard through an old coworker that she had started posting anonymously on forums and Facebook groups. "My brother was manipulated," she wrote. "Our cousin exploited his death for fame and money." People didn't buy it. Not anymore. Because by then, the truth had gotten louder than the lies. The tribute album hit charts on 3 platforms. A small studio offered to do a documentary about Blake's life. I made sure it told everything: the cancer, the silence from the family, the final years, the tape, the will. I didn't hold back. But I didn't come out clean either. In one interview, the host asked me if I ever confronted the family directly before the will, before the funeral. "No," I said. I didn't. I kept quiet. I let Blake carry that pain alone. I thought it wasn't my place. That was my mistake. It was true. I had been scared. Scared to rock the boat. Scared to start fights. But by staying silent for so long, I let them think what they did was okay. And maybe, in some small way, I helped them believe they could get away with it again. Not anymore. I moved out of the house last month. It was too full of ghosts. Sold it to a young couple who loved music. I left the studio intact. Told them the story. Gave them a copy of Blake's record. I live in a small apartment now, above a bookstore. Quiet. Simple. But sometimes, when the nights are long, I replay the tape. You're the only one who stayed. That's not nothing. No. It's not. And that's why, when Blake's name is remembered, it won't be because of the fake tears, the staged speeches, or the vultures who circled too late. It'll be because I stayed. And because I made sure the world knew who really showed up when it mattered.